I would guess that it occurs in meiosis. That would be my guess. That within the cell line that went through meiosis, they happened to have a translocation occur and a piece broke off. And then when they made an egg or sperm, that one egg or sperm had one copy of the X that had that little piece of Y on it. If the individual doesn't have it themselves, I would guess that it happened in meiosis in that individual. But that's a guess. Yeah.
Does the body have any way of correcting this error?
No. I mean, it's just it happens. You know.
Yeah.
It's a messy world out there. It really is. So there was a question about whether other animals or organisms can have non-disjunction occur. And let's go over this. I wanted to tell you a little bit about the calico cat. And did anybody read the first article in the lecture packet? It wasn't assigned. Interesting. Don't give optional readings. So when you have female cells, typically most females will be XX as opposed to XO or something. And so one of the X chromosomes kind of gets compressed, and most of the genes on it don't get expressed. So within any given cell of a female, even though they are XX, only one of the X's is active and being expressed. And so within different cell lines of a female, some of those cells will have one of the X's turned on and the other X turned off. And then in other parts of that individual, they might have the other X turned on and that first X turned off. All right, it's called X inactivation. And it wraps up really tightly, and most of the genes on it are typically expressed. So how many of you know calico cats? How many of you have a calico cat? How many of you have a male calico cat? How many of you have a female calico cat? Or know of a female calico cat? All right, it's interesting. So calico cats are, well, this is a calico, and they actually don't have to have white on them, I believe, to be called calico. But there's one gene that does the white stuff, and then that's not the gene we're interested in. There's another gene that is independent from the white spotting gene that occurs on the X chromosome. And that gene has two alleles for it. One allele that makes black pigment in the fur, and one allele that makes orange pigment in the fur. So if you have one gene that controls this coloration, and it's on the X chromosome, if you are male, you either inherit the black version or the orange version, and your hair is either black or orange. Right? Does that make sense? If you're female, you inherit two X chromosomes, let's say one that's orange and one that's black. And because it's random within different cell lines which one gets turned on and turned off, in some cells, the orange one is turned on and the black one is turned off. In other cell lines, the black one is turned on and the orange one is turned off. All right, so if you look at sort of the breakdown here, if you're a male calico, you're XY, just like us. And if you get the orange containing X, you're orange furred. You get the black containing X, you're black furred. If you're female and you get two black X's, you're all black. If you get two orange X's, you're all orange. If you get one of each, depending on which cell line you're looking at, you can either make orange or black pigment. Does that setup make sense? So how did he happen if he's a male calico? How could you have a male calico?
Is that what we were talking about earlier? Yeah, or like part of the gene that decided whether or not it was going to be a male or I mean the part that whatever we said earlier, where like part of the gene got chopped off and it's supposed to be
sure
a female, but instead it's a male.
That is a possibility. You could have two X's where one of them has a little piece of a Y broken off onto it. Okay. All right. Or what's the other way you can be that? You can be XXY. So remember XXY? Klinefelter. So when you see a male calico, oftentimes, not always, but most of the time it's a Klinefelter cat. So it actually is XXY, and that's the only way you could have a male calico, or the common way.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, so are almost all calicos female, which is why anyone in the class, most likely, if you were saying how many know a male, how many know a female, it's going to almost always be female.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So there was, actually I had a student, I was telling this to another class, and I had a student who said, I have a male calico. And then she sent me a picture of it, and I was like, that's not a calico. So she claimed that the orange fur wasn't really visible because it was old or something. I was like, I don't think that's a calico. There was a shelter in the Bay Area just a few months ago that had a male calico, and there was like an article in the Chronicle about it because it's so uncommon. And like, apparently people are like crazy for them. And so like, you know, there's a line of like 500 people that want to adopt this Klinefelter male calico cat. So.